All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're going to fundamentally shift how we think about wealth. We're starting with a premise that literally flips traditional career advice totally on its head. Most of us spend our entire working lives trying to figure out how to manipulate the outside world to get what we want, right? We completely exhaust ourselves trying to change our bosses, we try to change our companies, or we try to, fight the economy itself. But today, we're exploring a completely different philosophy, straight from the legendary framework of Jim Rohn. We're going to focus intensely on one absolutely crucial concept. We aren't chasing success. Instead, we are focusing on becoming the person who effortlessly attracts it.
So let's get into section 1, the secret to attracting success.
Okay, look at this quote. What does it actually mean to work harder on yourself than you do on your job? I mean, it's so easy to just clock in, do exactly what's expected, and clock out. And look, if you work hard on your job, you're going to make a living. There is absolutely nothing wrong with paying the bills and putting food on the table for sure. But if you actually take the time to work hard on yourself, reading that extra book, learning a new skill, rewiring your mindset, refining how you communicate, you can make a fortune. Let that paradigm shift really sink in for a second. You suddenly realize you don't actually have to change the marketplace. You don't have to try and hold back the wind. You just have to turn all that effort inward. And when you do that, your entire trajectory changes.
And here's the thing, we've got to stop pursuing success. Why? Because honestly, what you pursue usually eludes you. Think of it kind of like a butterfly. If you desperately want a butterfly, running around your backyard wildly swinging a net is just exhausting and usually pretty futile. The butterfly always seems to flutter just out of your reach, right? Well, that's pursuing success. Attracting success is a whole different ballgame. It's putting down the net entirely and spending your time planting a really beautiful, vibrant garden. Because if you build that garden, the butterfly just naturally comes to you. Success is drawn naturally to the person you become. If you want to attract attractive people, you've got to become attractive. To attract powerful, visionary people, you must become a powerful, visionary person yourself. You go to work on your language, your insight, and your own personal value.
Moving right along, section 2, designing your next decade.
So, the very first heartbeat of designing your next 10 years is deciding exactly what you want. Imagine sitting down at your kitchen table, cup of coffee in hand, and just painting a super vivid picture of your future. What kind of health do you want over the next decade? Are you aiming to run a marathon, or honestly just want the energy to keep up with your kids? What properties do you want to own? A quiet cabin in the woods or a buzzing city apartment? What specific income streams do you want flowing toward you? And hey, what deeply ingrained habits do you desperately need to break? And remember, this usually isn't just a solo mission. If you have a family, you really have to sit down with your spouse and ask, okay, what do I want? What do you want? And what do we both want? It's all about aligning your individual growth with those collective goals.
All right, section 3, the power of paper. The human mind is a fantastic processing tool, but let's be real, it's a terrible filing cabinet. You just cannot keep these massive, life-altering goals randomly floating around in your head. Trying to build a good life solely out of your imagination, it's literally like trying to build a custom house entirely out of your head. Imagine a construction crew showing up to a dirt lot with absolutely no blueprints, just sort of guessing where the plumbing and the walls should go. I mean, it would be a total monstrosity. You have to extract these grand designs from your imagination and crystallize them into reality. And you do that by following these steps. Decide what you want, get it out of your mind, and put it directly onto paper. This is a deeply practical exercise in learning how to literally think on paper. We've all felt that cognitive overload, right? Maybe it's that creeping anxiety at 2 in the morning where a million ideas, plans, and worries are just spinning in a mental tornado. Well, by physically extracting those thoughts from your brain and anchoring them to a piece of paper, the relief is almost immediate. It actually gives your brain a much-needed break from having to store all that information, which allows it to shift gears into actually analyzing your decisions. You can finally look objectively at your list of investment goals, your education plans, or even the benevolence gifts you want to give away, and finally just get to work on them.
Which brings us to section 4, the rules of the marketplace. Now, I want you to think about this question really carefully. Why does the marketplace pay some people $500 an hour? Or, let's take it to an absolute extreme. Why might a massive company pay one single person $200 million for just 1 year of work? Is it because they found a magic lamp? Is the universe just playing favorites and arbitrarily handing out winning lottery tickets to a select few? Just let that question hang in the air for a second before we look at the reality of how this actually works.
Well, evidently, it's because they are extraordinarily valuable to the marketplace. That word,
Evidently is the key here. The marketplace is entirely, completely unsentimental. It does not pay you based on fairness or how much you sweat or even how good of a person you are. It pays strictly on return on investment. If a CEO is getting paid $200 million, evidently they must have executed a strategy that helped the company make $5 billion. The math is highly, highly logical. If you bring massive value, you receive massive compensation. It's really just a direct reflection of the person you've become and the value you've actively cultivated.
And this leads us to a pretty stark, unavoidable contrast. You absolutely cannot get rich by demand. Just imagine standing out in the street demanding more money. You can protest, you can complain, you can go on strike, and you can loudly declare exactly what you need to survive. But you don't get rich by demanding. You get rich by performance. Actually, this is such a powerful lesson to instill in our kids early on. If a child walks up and says, "I need $5 for a toy," simply responding to that pure need kind of reinforces a weak mindset. But if that same child pauses and asks, "What can I do to earn $5?" suddenly they have our complete undivided attention. Why? Because they're focusing entirely on performance and adding value.
It's a profound natural law. As the saying goes, the soil says, "Don't bring me your need, bring me some seed." Think about the soil for a moment. You can't just walk out to a barren dirt field, drop to your knees, and yell, "I need a crop. I'm starving." The soil doesn't care. It'll just sit there, cold and indifferent, probably wondering who this clown is yelling at the dirt. The soil, exactly like the marketplace, does not care about your needs, your sob stories, or your hunger. But it will generously, overwhelmingly reward your willingness, your activity, and the actual seeds you plant.
All right, Section 5, Value, Not Time.
This brings us to a really critical misunderstanding. It's something that keeps so many ambitious people feeling frustrated and capped in their financial growth. The confusion between time and value. The grand illusion we all buy into is that we are paid for our time. We hear it constantly, right? I make $20 for an hour. But actually, scratch that, it's functionally untrue. Time is merely the measuring stick. Let's be brutally honest. If we truly got paid just for time passing by, we could all just sit on our living room couches, stare blankly at the wall, let the clock tick away, and wait for the checks to arrive in the mail. But that's not how reality works. The absolute truth is that you get paid $20 for the value you inject into that hour. You are paid for value, period. Now, the amazing part about this reality is that decoupling your income from your time completely frees you from the limits of a 24-hour day. And look, no one is born a magnet for success. That magnetism, it's forged. Whether you're starting from a wealthy suburb or a disadvantaged neighborhood, your potential is entirely in your own hands. You become undeniably valuable by building that value incrementally. It's book by book, class by class, discipline by discipline, apple by apple. Step by step, you elevate your attitude, your abilities, and your skills. You are literally transforming into the exact kind of person who naturally attracts success. So I'm going to leave you with this final, empowering thought to reflect on today. Is it possible to become twice as valuable as you are right now? What about 5 times? Is it actually possible to become 10 times more valuable to the marketplace and make 10 times as much money in the exact same amount of time? The answer is an absolute, undeniable yes. It all loops right back to our central thesis. Success isn't something you exhaust yourself chasing with a net, it is something you attract by the person you become. So, looking closely at your own daily routine, what single step are you going to take today to start working on yourself and building that undeniable value?